Greetings and salutations, my friends, and welcome back to another edition of the Toxic Reviews. And hold on, thought. Hello. This is what? What do you mean we don't have a budget for that? Come on! What else am I supposed to do to raise money? I've already sold my blood. I've already sold my soul. I've already sold everything else I could possibly think of, outside of my vintage video games and comic. I'll tell you back. I apologize for that. That was actually my producer, Mr. Fleesom. He was just calling up to check on progress of the show so far. Yeah. Yeah, apparently we don't really have much of a budget, but I just realized I could sell something online that I know will instantaneously get me instant big bucks. I just found it in a dumpster the other day. Trump's Titans! Ah! Oh, this will be worth billions! It's gonna be huge! Absolutely huge! I mean, look at this. Look at this. It's an actual comic book that has Trump and Pence and others as superheroes. Yeah, now that I say that out loud, now you see how ridiculous that is. And you see how ridiculous comic books can be. Well, at least in the independent leagues, anyway. You see, the funniest thing about independent comic books is there was a lot of weird series out there, including, and not limited to, such books as I get a little nauseated just thinking about this one. Captain Confederacy. You heard me right. Captain Confederacy. I will actually do a review on that one of these days, but for right now, I want to do kind of a retrospect on some of the comics in my collection that I absolutely love. For instance, this Darkwing Duck annual. Look at this cover. You've got Quacker Jack aiming the camera right at Darkwing Duck. Now, the first thing that most people would say is, why, that right there, my friend, is an exact parody of the classic comic book, The Killing Joke. And of course, as we all know, that was a true classic, Marvel comic. That was a great DC comic with Batman. That's when the Joker killed Barbara, and or paralyzed her, and shot Gordon, Commissioner Gordon. Holy crap! It was great. That's at least what some nerds would actually say. However, for myself, I like comic books that are a little weird and a little strange. Movie adaptations like Radioactive Man, the official Bongo comic movie adaptation. Yeah. For those of you who've always wondered, what would actually happen if Radioactive Man, the movie, actually happened with none other than Rainier Wolfcastle. Yeah. And you'd figure out a good villain, like Krusty the Clown, who is playing, I actually have no idea who the heck he's supposed to be playing. I mean, there's a lot of gags in there, but there doesn't seem to be any type of name. But of course, we get the infamous Millhouse scene where, he basically becomes Fallout Boy. And of course, there are some familiar characters in here. And of course, we also get the conclusion of the infamous scene in the nuclear power plant where the radioactive waste comes and, Lagarde goes, "Do not work!" But of course, it's kind of interesting to see the history of Radioactive Man in comic book form, which I actually always thought was great. But weird movie adaptations, though, are kind of a forte for me, including with something like The Real Ghostbusters, starring in Ghostbusters 2. Now, this one is definitely weird because, okay, well, look right here. You got Dana Barrett and Pete Venkman. But of course, got Janine Milnitz and Louis Tully, who's not exactly in his round glasses phase yet that he was in the series. But of course, you also got Egon and Ray and Winston in their traditional, cartoon form. And of course, they're using the same proton packs. But also, the fact that they have the Ghostbusters 2 logos and they got the slime blowers also. It was a great comic for when I was a kid. However, the comic books weren't as, there were some great stories that they didn't cover in the show. And I kind of feel kind of bad that, they didn't really get to do, like, a longer series, especially after they did the Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. But that would all change in 2004 when 88 Miles Per Hour Studios would put out their own version of Ghostbusters. And yes, they set it in the year 2004. Where in this universe, Pete Venkman and Dana Barrett are still dating. And of course, Louis Tully is now apparently a celebrity where he's got his own cologne. But of course, there's also a great little bit of an insider gag in here for true diehards. You can spot that. Yeah. True diehards would actually be able to spot that and be able to say, "Oh, I know exactly where that came. I know exactly where that came from. Like, when you see, it came from the real Ghostbusters and all that stuff. And it was fantastic." But of course, true fans would not be able to get another comic because after 80 Miles Per Hour Studios went under, it would be years before more comics would actually come out. And of course, it was about 2013. We finally got our wish. Oh yeah. We got IDW's version of Ghostbusters. Now this time, of course, it's following the exact same storyline that 80 Miles Per Hour was doing. But this time, they cross-reference like crazy. Like, for instance, here's one panel where Kylie Griffith from the Extreme Ghostbusters and Peter Venkman are fighting off a train ghost. Now, interestingly enough, in this universe, Walter Peck is actually in charge of a paranormal division in New York. And is actually in charge of the Ghostbusters, making sure that they have the budget and the money that they need to fight off ghosts. But one of the craziest little things I've seen in here, okay, if you look right there, you will see Tracy the Gorilla, Bratarat, and of course, Primeval's lair from the freaking Filmation Ghostbusters. But the craziest part, though, okay, right here. Look at this panel right here. Look at these panels here. Egon Spangler and Janine's new boyfriend. Excuse me. I kind of need to... My God. Oh, damn it. Roger and Egon are indeed one and the same. Again, Extreme Ghostbusters reference. Right there. Within one character. But then again, I almost wonder if that was actually supposed to be the original design of Egon. But they decided against that. Wow. But of course, interestingly enough, They got the Rookie from the video game in his own little strip. He's actually within this universe. You know, which I actually think was actually kind of a fantastic idea that IDW did this, especially when they crossed over all the universes into one. Now, mind you, speaking of crazy crossovers, IDW also did this. Mars Attacks versus the real Ghostbusters. Yes. I kid you not, there was an entire book all about the real Ghostbusters actually going off and fighting the Martians from, dare I say, Mars Attacks. But look at this. They're freaking ghosts. Holy crap. It doesn't get any more amazing than that. I, like, literally, when I first read it, I mean, look at the detail in here. Look at that. It's not, like, as super cartoony, but, like, you see they actually put some real thought into this. They didn't just sit there and think to themselves, oh, well, hey, you know, we'll just half-ass it. You know what I mean? Who's really going to notice? But apparently, you know, there was others in the Mars Attack series, including Transformers. Yes. There was Transformers. There was Mars Attacks Popeye. Like, it was crazy. Look at this. This was like a huge deal with IDW. They did Mars Attacks, like, crossovers like crazy. You know, there's Mars Attacks Popeye, Mars Attacks Miss Fury, Mars Attacks Opus. Yeah. Mars Attacks Kiss, Mars Attacks Judge Dredd, Mars Attacks the Star Slammers, Zombies vs. Robots, the Transformers, the real Ghostbusters. I mean, it was like, how? That was the thing about IDW. They could do anything and get away with it and make it great. Which is why